If you want to achieve massive amounts of success in your life, then you're going to want to start paying attention to other people who are achieving massive amounts of success. Today, I'm going to break down for you 7 lessons I've learned from watching Miss Taylor Allison Swift. And you don't have to be a Swiftie to appreciate she's having a lot of success right now. So let's take a look. Welcome to Better Than Happy, the podcast where we transform our lives by transforming ourselves. My name is Jody Moore. In the decade plus I've been working with clients as a master certified coach, I've helped tens of thousands of people to become empowered. And from empowered, the things that seemed hard become trivial. And the things that seemed impossible become available. And suddenly a whole new world of desire and possibility open up to you. And what do you do with that? Well, that's the question. What will you do? Let's find out. Sometimes listening to a podcast is enough, but sometimes you'll feel inspired to go deeper. If you hear things that speak to you in today's episode, consider it your invitation to a complimentary coaching workshop. On this live interactive Zoom call with me, you'll get a taste of the power of this work when applied in real life. You can participate or be a silent observer, but you have to take a step if you want to truly see change in your life. 2 steps, actually. Head to jodymoore.com/free coaching and register. Then you just have to show up. Your best life is waiting for you. Will you show up for it? jodymoore.com/free coaching. I'll see you there. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to share with you some insights that I've collected as I've been observing Taylor Swift. Again, you do not have to be a Swiftie to get a lot out of this episode, whether it's in your relationships, with your business goals, with your health, with just how you navigate the world. We definitely want to be watching people who are achieving the goals they have for themselves, going after and getting what they want, and showing up in a way that would be the kind of person we would want to show up and be in the world, right? So before we dive into these, I do want to preface by saying that I recognize that she is not perfect, okay? That she has many flaws, many shortcomings. She would even admit that, I believe. But also, I don't necessarily share all of her same values or agree with everything that she does. So I just need to put that out there because I'm not trying to put her on a pedestal and make her more special than she is. I simply think I thought it would be fun, first of all, because you guys know I'm a huge Swiftie and have been, I'd like to say, since before it was cool to be a Swiftie. I don't know if it's still cool to be a Swiftie or not. Depends on who you ask. But at any rate, I'm a longtime big fan of Taylor Swift because I love her music and I like her as a person. But again, that doesn't mean I share all of her values, that I approve of everything she does. You don't have to get all up in arms and send me something she said that you think is terrible or an outfit that you didn't approve of or whatever. I get it, okay? I simply think it's worth paying attention to someone who is, again, achieving her goals, seems to be in a happy, good place, and has given so much to so many people in the world. It contributes something really valuable and appears to be just a good person. I don't know. Maybe underneath it all, she's not. But she sure seems like it to me, right? So that's what we're going to dive into today. I have 7 things I've observed that I want to offer to you and share with you. And I'd love to hear from you. I bet you have insights I didn't even consider. Please feel free to send them in to me. You can DM me on Instagram. You can post in the comments, wherever you want to add to the conversation. I'd love to hear from you. The first thing that I love that Taylor Swift has done that has made me just kind of reflect on my own life is she is so good at rebranding herself. Now, this is something that seems to be common, especially in the music industry, right? I remember watching Madonna do the same thing where she would have different hair and different style when she had a new album come out. It's sort of a rebrand that happens. But recently, when I heard Taylor Swift, I think it was when she was on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, she was talking about how when she releases a new album, or when she's writing a new album, even creating a new album, that she likes to kind of take on a persona. And of course, it aligns closely with whatever's going on in her life. So when she was writing Tortured Poets Department, she was going through some difficult things. I think a breakup and some heartache and whatever else. At the same time, she was on the Eras tour, I think shortly, maybe during that album, before that album, I don't know. Anyway, so she said that she wrote that album from the perspective of a tortured poet, right? That she can relate to that she has within her these feelings and emotions that get exaggerated into this character maybe of a tortured poet and turned into lyrics and songs that we all then get to experience and enjoy. Her new album, Life of a Showgirl, she's taking on the persona of a showgirl. So it's more playful, it's much happier, it's lighter, it's a little bit naughty at times, right? And I love that obviously she does that with her music, but that is something that we can do in our own lives. We can rebrand ourselves anytime we want to. Now, for me personally, it's not something that I want to look as dramatic as an album rebrand for an artist, right? But I think we all take on these identities of who we are. What kind of person am I? And what's appropriate behavior for someone like me? What's expected behavior of someone like me? And we think it's just an observation of who we are. But what happens is we take on that identity, that belief, that brand, if you will, and then our subconscious minds cause us to play it out and to live into that persona and to be that person, behave in that way. And then we reinforce the idea that that's just who we are. And that works fine for a lot of our lives. But there are parts of your life or times in your life when it might be worthwhile to have a rebrand. Sometimes a rebrand gets forced upon us, right? If my identity is I'm a stay-at-home mom and I raise these kids and I spend my time taking care of kids, then when all of the kids go off to school or grow up and leave the house, then I'm left with a naturally necessary rebrand. And it feels very uncomfortable to people because they haven't been thinking about the fact that it was all just a character I was playing in the first place. Me being this mom who raises these kids, I don't mean it's not real. I'm just saying it was never who you were. The same thing happens when we lose a job, right? We're like, I don't know who I am now. I thought I was this person who was good at this job or worked at this place. Who am I now? Well, you never actually were that person, and yet you were and you still are. Do you see what I'm saying? So I love thinking about it as, okay, who do I want to be this year? And again, I'm not talking about major shifts for most of us. I'm just saying, like, I used to have this identity that I wasn't good with money. And I remember I had to decide, like, that's just an identity that I picked up somewhere. And then I've started making it true and I'm reliving it over and over again. And remember, your brain wants to be right more than it wants you to achieve your goals. It wants to be right about what you think is true about yourself and the world. Even the negative limiting beliefs, it wants to be right about it. That's your brain's job. So if you can take on a new identity, like I'm a person who's going to be the most improved. I'm going to make the most progress in my life when it comes to my money situation. I'm going to be a rags to riches story. Or I'm going to be I knew nothing about money to I'm an expert in the stock market person about money. Or whatever it is you want to be. It doesn't even have to be that dramatic, but notice how I'm not good with money is just an identity that then we take on and we make true. And I had to make these shifts to I understand money well enough. And I'll tell you where I landed and where my current identity is with money, which, full disclaimer, I still think I have a lot of work to do around my thoughts and relationship with money. But I have come a long way. I've worked on it really hard to where I no longer think that I'm not good with money. But when I tried on the identity of I'm good with money, I love money, that didn't feel like me. Maybe it was too much of a leap, or maybe it was just not who I wanted to be. But what I did take on, and I do believe now, is that money loves me. And I take good care of money because I appreciate how much it loves me. Like, it wants to be with me. It wants to hang out with me. It wants to come to me because it knows I will be a good steward of it. I'm grateful for it. I'm cautious with it, and I pay attention to it. I don't just ignore it. I don't just hurry and get rid of it as soon as I get it like I used to, right? Even when I do, I remember having this experience years ago as I was working on my identity with money, and there was like somebody, in a parking lot asking for money. And I felt inclined to give him some money. And I think I had $100 bill in my wallet that I'd been carrying around for a long time. And I was like, I'm going to give him my $100 bill. And I remember looking at that $100 bill and saying, thank you for being in my life. I have no idea what this guy is going to do with you. He might not be a good steward of you. He might spend you on something that I think is not a good use of money. I don't know what he's going to do with you. And so I hope he takes good care of you. But thank you for allowing me to be generous today. And I'm going to send you off to this guy. It feels like the right thing to do. And that sounds cheesy and hokey to some of you. Okay. I'm just saying I was trying to change my identity with money to be a person who no longer is like, I'm just not good with money. I was like, look how good I am with this money. Look how good I'm talking to it. Look how appreciative I am. And money likes to hang out with me when I'm good to it. You see what I'm saying? I know this sounds kind of woo-woo to some of you, but that was the rebrand that I did for myself around money. Now, you can do this in your relationships. You can do this with your marriage. You can do this with your business. You can do this in terms of like whether or not you're a people pleaser or a perfectionist, or whether or not you make fast decisions. How decisive are you? I just don't make decisions very easily. It takes me a long time. I'm not good at making decisions. That's just the brand you've taken on. Do you want to rebrand? Do you want to go from Tortured Poets Department to Life of a Showgirl? Because you can. It all lives within you. We all have the capacity for a lot of things. You just might need a rebrand. And that's what I love about watching somebody in the entertainment industry like Taylor Swift or whoever, right? Is that like everything is pretty well thought through when it comes to a rebrand. Like, what's the feel of it? What's the colors and the font? And there's the visual effect, but then there's also so much other just components of it. What's going to make it feel light and fun? Another great example of this is there is a series on Disney Plus created by Disney. I think it's called The Imagineers. And it's all about how they create all the amazing things Disney creates, but with an emphasis on Disneyland and the rides. And when they rebranded the Disneyland ride that was the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror into the Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Blast Off or something, whatever it's called. It was the same ride, which is like kind of the feeling of an elevator dropping and rising really quickly. But they needed to rebrand it from feeling kind of eerie and spooky like the Twilight Zone over to being still intense, but in a more playful action, but with comedy kind of way like the Guardians of the Galaxy. And so the Imagineers said, hey, we're going to go from like feeling like this creepy falling elevator that who knows where it's going into like the feeling of throwing a baby up in the air and catching the baby. It's still an up and down motion and it's kind of intense and scary, but also it's kind of with laughter and with playfulness. And so they rebranded the whole ride to be a totally different feel, including they added really loud background music instead of the spooky, eerie Twilight Zone music, right? And all of that contributes to our experience. That's available to you in your own life, my friends. You can keep the circumstance the same. It's the same Disneyland ride, but it's rebranded. And you can rebrand yourself in your life in any way that will serve you. What if you are somebody who's really good at the things that you want to be good at? What if you are someone who gets up early now? You're a morning person. You're somebody who gets things done. You're somebody who follows through on what she says she's going to do. You're somebody who's very generous and kind and doesn't get easily upset. You're somebody who's laid back and calm and doesn't worry about things. What would serve you? Who do you want to be? Because you're allowed to have a rebrand and you can think through it and do that anytime you want to. All right, number 2. So this is something that Taylor Swift said on the podcast interview she did within the last couple months on the New Heights podcast, right, with Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce. And so I'm sure you've heard this quote a lot, but it's definitely worth pointing out. She basically said, I think she was asked about like her haters or people who don't have her best in mind. She said, think of your energy as if it's expensive, as if it's like a luxury item. Not everyone can afford it, right? So such a good reminder. What I took away from that, and I have a slightly different way that I think about it, but it's the same concept, right? What she's saying there is you don't have to put your focus, your attention, when she says your energy, right? It's your focus, your attention, your time on anything that isn't worth your focus and your time and your attention. Don't just let other people dictate where your head is going to go, where your mind is going to go, where your heart is going to go. And it's tempting to do that because of the negativity bias that exists in our brains, right? If I get 10 compliments and 1 insult, my brain will want to focus on the insult, but the insult is not a good place to put my attention and energy. It's just not, because where we put our attention and energy, we tend to magnify and that grows. in our lives, even if it's just because we're putting more attention on it. Now we're experiencing it more than we would if we decided not to think about it and redirect away from it. And so I kind of think of it as like my attention or my energy, as Taylor Swift called it, is a resource that's in limited supply. Just like my time is in limited supply, my money is in limited supply. Those are things that I want to be thoughtful about how I spend. How am I spending my time? How am I spending my money? And how am I spending my energy and attention? And not everything is worth it to me to spend money on or time on or my energy on. And so I want to be thoughtful about it. And this comes up in coaching a lot when I say to people like, why do you think you're so focused on that? Why are you giving it so much airtime? Why do you keep thinking that? And they'll say, because it's true. It just feels true. It seems true. And this is where I'm like, okay, but just because it's true, quote unquote, doesn't mean you want to give your attention or focus to it. It doesn't mean that's serving you. It doesn't sound like that is serving you, right? So this is such a great example of it, the way Taylor Swift said it. So you don't need to give your attention to people you don't trust, things you don't like, things you disagree with, things that you're worried about, but you actually have little to no impact on. Not worth spending your time and attention on, not worth your energy. So what is worth your energy then? That's a great question to answer. Just like, what do I want to spend my money on? What do I want to spend my energy on? Choose carefully. All right. Third lesson I'm taking from Miss Taylor Swift that I would offer to you is that creation at its best blesses countless lives. I love this topic so much. I love listening to Myron Golden talk about this topic of creation because he talks about how in the Bible, God created man and then told us that he created man and woman in his image, and he's the ultimate creator, and therefore he created us to create things and he made us to make things, right? And I coach a lot of women especially who have a desire to create something, but if they can't see an ROI on it, they feel like it's selfish. Like a desire to take a class, to do a project, to create something, whether it's a business or an actual tangible physical thing. And then they're like, but what if I can't sell it? Or what if I don't want to sell it? Then is that a waste of my time? I just coached somebody today on this exact topic. And I was like, what are you talking about? How could it be a waste of your time to do what God created you to do, which is create things? And if you just want to create it because it fulfills you, it fills up your soul, then I think that's a good reason. So I look at Taylor Swift making music, and part of me wonders, why does she keep going? Like, she's got to be tired right now, right? She's coming off 2 years of the Eras Tour, which we all know was like a super high athlete type of event that she put on for her being the athlete, right? I was exhausted just from having to stand up for 3 hours and watch her dance on that stage. I can't imagine how she felt doing it night after night and then traveling all over the world and everything. She's got to be tired, right? Why does she keep making music? She doesn't seem to need the money, unless there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. She doesn't need any more money. She doesn't need to do it. She certainly doesn't owe us anything. Why does she keep doing it? Because she is a songwriter and a performer, a showgirl, if you will. And she has a desire to create. She loves music. She loves writing songs. She loves performing. She loves her fans. She loves doing it. So we might say it's selfish. I don't know. But look at how many of us benefit. Not everybody likes her music. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to be for everybody. But dang, I'll tell you what. It's fun to have new music to listen to. It's fun to have something to look forward to. It's fun to follow her and see what she's up to. It's fun to see her be in love and think about her wedding and all of it. It's fun for us, right? So thank you for just doing what you feel called to do, Taylor Swift. I'm not saying she was never doing it because she wanted to make money or that she has only 100% pure reasons. I don't know what all of her reasons are. I just don't think any of us have 100% pure reasons. What I'm saying is, I'm so glad she went after what she felt called to do. And that if you go after what you feel called to do, it might turn into nothing. You might not have an Eras Tour level of success or any success. You might not ever sell it. Nobody might care or be interested in it or be inspired by it. It's still worth doing if it fulfills you. You're made to create things. If it makes you feel better and enjoy life more and kind of connect with your divinity, which is, I think, what it is, then it's a good thing to spend your time on. And even if that just means you're more fun to be around for the people in your life and you end up serving people in life in totally different ways, unrelated to what you're creating, it's still making you, a more Christ-like, more God-like, more divine version of you. That is a very good thing. Okay? So creation at its best blesses many, many lives. That is a lesson I've taken from watching Taylor Swift. Here's number 4. There is much beauty to be found in the full human experience. Okay, so this podcast is called Better Than Happy because happiness is great. I want you to have happiness in your life, but I want you to have something even better than that, which is happiness at times, joy at times, ease and peace at times, but also struggle and challenge and pushback and resistance and even heartbreak and all of the range of human emotions at times. Because that is your most amazing, beautiful life. So again, as Taylor Swift has been pretty transparent about, like, her music is a reflection of what's going on in her life and what she's experiencing, we've been able to witness the full range of emotions in her music, right? So on October 3rd, well, actually on October 2nd, because I live on the West Coast. So her album came out on October 3rd, midnight Eastern time, which to us here on the West Coast is 9 p.m. the night before. Lucky for us. And so I was on a plane headed up to Washington at 9 o'clock p.m. Pacific time on October 2nd. And so naturally, I connected my Wi-Fi on the plane. What a great world we live in. So that I could download the album right at 9 o'clock as it became available. And I'm listening to it on my AirPods. And I'm on the aisle seat. My sister's next to me in the middle seat. And next to her in the window seat is a woman who we don't know, who's also on her AirPods. And after a while, my sister realizes from catching a glimpse of her phone or something that this woman next to her is also listening to the Taylor Swift album. My sister wasn't. I don't know what's wrong with her. But anyway, so she kind of laughed and pointed to both of us and showed us like that we both immediately were like downloading the album and listening to it song by song. And so we kind of like showed our phones to each other and smiled and made eye contact. And then afterwards, we kind of talked about, what did you think? Did you like it? And I was like, I loved it. It's so good. And she's like, I don't know if I love it. And my sister talked to her a little bit, and she said she was a huge fan of the Tortured Poets Department album, which I actually really liked also. But that's a different album. It's kind of got a sad feel. There are lots of kind of heavier songs, right? Like it's a tortured poet. So this woman, for whatever reason, connected with that. And I tend to prefer the lighter, poppier, like Lover and 1989 and those kinds of albums. And so I was like, this is my favorite. I like her other stuff too. I like Folklore, Evermore. I appreciate it all, but this kind of album is more like just what I connect with. And anyway, I was just thinking like, it's so beautiful though, right? That she has this range of emotional experiences because she's a human. And so she's experiencing the full range of it. And then it shows up in her music. It translates into her music and we get to experience it all. And isn't it all beautiful? Isn't the variety kind of beautiful? Isn't the contrast kind of beautiful? So I don't know. It's just an interesting reminder that if everything is all one way, if everything's all down and out, people like this that seems like they're always unhappy, always grumpy. Those people are not fun to be around. But you know what else is kind of weird and not my favorite? Somebody who's just always positive, always happy. Come on, can we get real for a minute? Like we need contrast, we need variety. That's what is genuine and real and actually like the most beautiful possible human experience. Good reminder there from Taylor Swift. All right, next thing I want to point out is that you can honor and respect other people's wishes without abandoning yourself. So one of the things I've noticed has been a little bit controversial, I think it's come up before, but especially this time, is that some of the lyrics in her songs are maybe not appropriate for young ears, or maybe you find them to be inappropriate in general, right? A little bit more language. There's a little bit more sexual innuendo happening in some of her songs. And I saw somebody online saying, first of all, they claimed not to be a Swiftie and that they don't care at all, but they just think it's weird how her lyrics have taken this turn, and because isn't she a songwriter for little girls or something like that? Well, of course, all the Swifties are clapping back, saying it's actually romantic that you would say that, and all kinds of funny things. But at any rate, so what I admire and respect about what Taylor Swift does is, as recently she has added a little bit more language and things because she's maturing, she's growing up, and maybe she's deciding that she has some different ideas about who she wants to be, how she likes to talk, what she wants to say in her songs, etc. My guess is that feels like what's true to her, right? Is something a little bit more irreverent at this point. But she does also respect that she has a lot of younger fans, and that, someone like me as a mother wants to feel like it's safe and okay for my kids to listen to her music and not worry that they're going to be exposed to something that's inappropriate. And so she not only provides edited versions, a lot of people do, right? They'll provide edited versions of their music where they're bleeping out words and things. But many times in an edited version, you can fill in the gaps on what the word was, right? And what she does, though, what Taylor Swift does, is she actually records alternative versions with alternative lyrics. So it's not just a bleep out. It's literally a different phrase or a different word so that she doesn't lose the storyline, etc., but it's not even apparent where the edit happened. And I just think that's really cool because she wants to be respectful of her fan base and her audience. She values their opinion. And I'm not saying you have to cater to everybody, right? But there are probably people in your life whose opinions you value, whose opinions you respect, who you want to honor. How do you do that without abandoning yourself and who you want to be and what feels true to you? I don't know always, because it's situation specific. But Taylor Swift has demonstrated it really beautifully here in the way she approaches. And she's going above and beyond. I would imagine that's a lot more time in the studio recording songs, and it's requires some creativity to come up with what the alternative lyrics are even going to be. It's extra effort for sure. And I, for one, really appreciate it and I respect it. And I think it's a great example of how you can still be yourself, honor and respect yourself, and accommodate other people when you want to, when it's who you want to be, not because you have to, but just because you want to. Okay, the sixth thing I want to offer you that I learned from Taylor Swift, and this is for all my entrepreneur friends, especially my coach friends. I taught a workshop on October 3rd called How to Launch Like Taylor Swift, because she is a pro at marketing. She's a pro at branding, like we talked about already. She's a pro at launching. Now, I'm not trying to launch entertainment. I'm not trying to launch music albums. And I'm not even trying to do anything on as grand of a scale as what Taylor Swift is trying to do, but I still have learned so much about my own business. Like, I just get gems of ideas and nuggets of inspiration and really great examples of how to execute some of the concepts and principles that I'm learning about marketing and business, because she does it in such a cool, fun way, right? So notice how she just launched this album by setting up for us that it was coming, building anticipation, and then selling us a bunch of stuff. And if you're a Swiftie like me, you're not mad at it. You're like, go ahead, offer me more stuff, Taylor Swift. I'm not buying everything she's selling, right? I haven't bought all the vinyls and everything, but I'm like, what else you got? Maybe I want it. I'm not mad that she's selling me things because she's taken such good care of me along the way. And I like what she offers. So if you want to get that workshop, first of all, if you're in the Lab Coach Access, make sure you go watch the workshop I did, How to Launch Like Taylor Swift. I should have worn for this podcast episode my Taylor Swift sweater, because I got the orange cardigan, the Taylor Swift cardigan that one of my clients sent me. You know who you are. She's a gem and she knows I love Taylor Swift, so she sent it to me. And anyway, go watch that workshop. But if you're not in Lab Coach Access, you can purchase it, but only for like the next few weeks. we sometimes put those workshops up for people to purchase because we get a lot of requests for them. So you can go to jodymoore.com/coach workshop if you're a coach and you want to see how to launch like Taylor Swift. But that is one thing I've learned. One other thing I want to add on to this one is there was a speech that she gave years ago. I don't even know what award ceremony it was at. She was winning an award for something in the music industry. And she made this comment that I just hear in my head all the time where she said, the reason I've had some good ideas is because I've had so many bad ideas. And I'm always telling my clients that. I'm always telling you guys that when I'm coaching you. I'm like, listen, stop shutting down ideas and going, oh, no, that won't work. Oh, I don't know about that. Oh, I tried that already. You have to let all the bad ideas come because the good ideas, there's only a handful of them and they're hanging out with a whole bunch of bad ideas. So if you're swatting away bad ideas, you're probably not going to get to the good ideas. So I don't know. I'd love to see all of Taylor Swift's bad ideas, but she claims that she has them and I believe her because you can't have that many good ideas without having even more bad ideas. Okay, last thing, number 7. Oh, I get so inspired by especially what she did with the Eras tour. Number 7 is just because nobody's done it before doesn't mean it isn't possible. So if you went to the Eras tour or watched the Eras tour, which you still can do on TV, I believe, somewhere, I'm sure you can get it. She explains at some point in the middle of the show why she put this show together the way she did, right? She had several albums come out during the pandemic when she wasn't able to tour. And she's like, we got to go out and see the fans and we got to go perform for them because that's what she does. And that's what we wanted her to do. And somebody said, well, what are you going to do? Do like a 3-hour show and play every album? And she's like, yeah, actually, I am. I don't know if anyone had ever done that before. It certainly wasn't very common. It isn't very common, right? But to put on the level of production that she did, she doesn't let herself, it seems like, when she decides to do something, she doesn't let herself believe it's not possible just because we haven't seen anyone, or at least not very many people, do it before. She kind of like takes this, well, I guess I'll have to go first. I will lead the way. Here's how you do a proper show type of attitude. I mean, she has to. And she continues to do things like this. She continues to just sort of blow up the traditional way and reinvent the way that you launch an album, the way that you write songs, the way that you behave in the world in general. And I think it's inspiring. I think it's really inspiring. So anyway, you guys know I've been a Swiftie for a very long time. I'm having lots of fun with her new album. And I hope that you are having fun with it or whatever you're into, whatever you like. Thanks for joining me today for the podcast, you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your week. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, wow, look at that. You made it to the end. Your time and attention is valuable, and I don't take it lightly that you made it this far. In fact, it tells me you might be like me, insatiably curious about people and life and potential and connection. Maybe you have big dreams, but a small budget and no time. You're tired, but bored. You're content, but dissatisfied. Sound familiar? Come to a free coaching call and see for yourself what's possible. jodymoore.com/free coaching to register. That's jodymoore.com/free coaching.